Think you might have SIBO but are unable to get a breath test? In this video, I'm going to walk you through what I would do to address SIBO without relying on a breath test so we can get you feeling better faster. I'll cover the key signs that point to SIBO, the best treatment approach based on your symptoms, and how to avoid the biggest mistakes that keep people stuck in the cycle of bloating and discomfort. Then stick around till the very end of the video because I'm going to share a commonly overlooked factor that can make or break your SIBO recovery. What's up and welcome to the video. I'm Dr. Daniel Ricciardi, gut health expert, licensed pharmacist, fitness enthusiast, creator of SIBO Shortcut and the gut health supplement Bloat Blocker. And as a quick disclaimer before we get started, I fully support and prefer using a breath test to either diagnose or rule out SIBO. This video is based on my personal experiences working with clients and my understanding of SIBO. And I know sometimes breath testing is not possible, whether it be due to cost, availability, or just a long wait time. If this is the case for you and a breath test is not an option, the rest of the video is going to explain what I would do instead. Step number one is going to be pay attention to what your symptoms are. For most people who have SIBO, you're going to have some sort of digestive symptoms, whether this be bloating, diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain. There's other non-digestive symptoms as well, such as brain fog, headaches, and a variety of other things. But typically for people with SIBO, you're going to have one of these digestive symptoms, if not multiple of these digestive symptoms. There's three different types of overgrowth based on the type of gas. In recent years, these have been giving a lot of different names. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to refer to them as hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. Bloating is a common symptom of all of these different types of SIBO, but for hydrogen and hydrogen sulfide, the majority of the people are going to tend to have more loose stools or diarrhea instead of constipation. And on the other hand, for methane, the majority of the people are going to have more constipation instead of diarrhea or loose stools. If you're having these symptoms before really doing anything else, I would recommend number one, switching to a diet that is practically all whole single ingredient foods. I would try to reduce stress around mealtime, employ good eating hygiene practices such as chewing your food very thoroughly, and maybe even trying some digestive support supplements such as betaine HCl, apple cider vinegar, or digestive enzymes. If you're trying these and none of them are really working, I would move on to step number two, which is to try a low FODMAP diet or a similar type diet that's reducing either the carbohydrates, fibers, or sugars in your diet to some extent. After you do this, pay attention to see how your symptoms are affected. If a low FODMAP diet or similar diet does not seem to be helping at all for any of your symptoms, to me, this would likely suggest that your symptoms are not caused by SIBO. Because typically with SIBO, if you're giving your body this additional fiber, carbohydrates, sugar that are fermentable type foods, in theory, it would make your symptoms worse. This may not be the case for everybody, but is a generalization to follow. So if you do this low FODMAP diet and you don't feel whatsoever any better, I probably would not continue to do the rest of the stuff in this video. However, if you do the low FODMAP diet and you notice your symptoms are somewhat better, maybe they're 20% better, 30%, 40% better, or even a little bit more, and you really suspect that SIBO is something that you have, I would move on to step number three, which is going to be opening up detox pathways. This is going to be especially important for people who are constipated because when you go to do that SIBO treatment, when we start killing off those bacteria, the bacteria will break apart into pieces known as LPS, lipopolysaccharide, and we really want to get these toxins out of our body as quick as possible. The longer they linger on in your body, these are more likely to cause you additional symptoms. This is sometimes known as a die-off reaction or a Herx reaction and can make SIBO treatment much harder to get through. So talking about detox pathways, opening them up, this means hydrating really well. It also means trying to have a bowel movement at least once daily. Again, if you have methane and constipation, this may not be something that's easy to do, but it is something you should consider before starting the actual treatment. A few things that can help are magnesium citrate, starting at 200 to 400 milligrams once or twice daily on an empty stomach. Vitamin C, 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily with food, or PHGG, partially hydrolyzed guar gum, starting with about 1 to 2 grams daily with a meal, and you can titrate all the way up to 7 grams, which is a typical 1 scoop or 1 serving in most products. All right, moving on to step number four is choosing your treatment. So one problem that can kind of come up with not doing a breath test and trying to choose a treatment is not everybody has the exact general symptoms that you would suspect with a certain type of SIBO. For example, there are people that have hydrogen dominant SIBO, which we would expect them to have loose stools or diarrhea, but this is not the case for everybody. Some people with hydrogen dominant SIBO may actually have constipation. And on the other hand, some people with a methane overgrowth may actually have loose stools. And to me as a practitioner, this sometimes would change the protocol that I would recommend recommend, especially with antibiotics or herbals. So one way to kind of avoid this issue is if you are pretty certain you have SIBO but are not going to do a breath test, doing something like the elemental diet would probably be your best bet in this scenario. But essentially the elemental diet is excellent with hydrogen dominant SIBO, and it's also really effective against methane SIBO as well. The video that I made last week about SIBO research updates with Dr. Mark Pimentel, Allison Seebecker, they discussed using the elemental diet for hydrogen sulfide SIBO as well, which to this point, there has not been any actual published studies on this, but both of these practitioners seem to suggest that the elemental diet would also work well for hydrogen sulfide SIBO. So this is why if you're not going to go out and do a breath test, the elemental diet would be what I personally do for myself if I was in that situation. And then if you were going to do an herbal or antibiotic treatment regimen, I would probably try to line up the herbals or the antibiotics with the specific symptoms that you're having and assume that you have that type of SIBO, if that makes sense. For example, if you had more constipation, I would just assume that you want to be treating methane type SIBO. And if you had more loose stools, you would assume that you have hydrogen dominant type SIBO. Hydrogen sulfide, there's some weirder symptoms that are involved there. I'd say the one to really pay attention to is if you have rotten egg smelling burps and farts. This may be a time to go with a hydrogen sulfide type treatment approach. If you're interested in seeing specific regimens, I'm going to link my full script online dispensary down here in the description below, and you can take a look for yourself. Step number 5 is going to be doing a gut healing protocol after the round of treatment. What I'm saying right here, if you did a round of treatment, I would not jump into an additional round of treatment, even if you're still feeling symptoms. Having bloating or digestive issues can be from things besides having an overgrowth of bacteria in your intestine. It can also be from leaky gut and having a lot of additional inflammation in your GI tract. This is why I would recommend doing some sort of gut healing protocol for either 1 to 3 months. I'm going to link the one that I have down in the description below as well on my full script. With this time, I would experiment with adding back more highly fermentable foods. I like to do an approach that I call the 1, 2, 3 approach. Basically, look at the foods that you omitted from your diet, rank them either 1, 2, or 3, where foods ranked number 1 are ones that you feel you probably could add back without any issues. 2s are more moderate, and 3s are ones where you might say, I'm not sure if this would go well if I added this food back. So over the 1 to 3 months, I would add back the foods that you're rating a number 1 first, then the 2s, then the 3s. There's also research to show that my own personal bloating supplement, Bloat Blocker, can also be a really useful tool to help you with digestive symptoms and prevent a recurrence of SIBO. The last, final, key, really important tip that you don't want to forget if you're going about doing this. Gut motility support, especially if you have the methane type SIBO, is going to be the number 1 most important thing that you can possibly do. For a lot of people who have SIBO, the nerves and muscles in the small intestine may not be functioning as well as they should be to clear out those bacteria in that area. For this reason, supporting your gut motility on an ongoing basis is going to be imperative. For me personally, somebody that had methane type symptoms, which were a lot of bloating and a lot of constipation, this is the one thing that I emphasize the most in doing my gut healing regimen after I finished my treatment. I took the over-the-counter supplement Iberogast. I did 20 drops in the middle of my 3 meals daily, and I did this for about 1 whole year. I was also using a ginger root capsule, which is nowhere near quite as potent as the Iberogast as a prokinetic, but it still works pretty strong in the stomach and upper portion of the small intestine. I was doing 1 capsule in the middle of each meal daily for about the first year, and then I slowly reduced the dosage over time. In addition to these supplements, I also stopped eating all snacks, which this may not be the most important thing for everybody to do, but for me, I found it really helpful to space out my meals by about 4 hours or even more. I'm about 5 years removed right now from dealing with SIBO symptoms, and I'm feeling fantastic. That is all for today. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell below so you get notified every time I post new content. If you've been through SIBO before, please let us know down in the comments what's been helpful for you. And then since you watched till the very end, I think you're going to enjoy one of these 2 videos right here next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.